Beep beep! Welcome to the court of the digester. How are we? I'm bloody freezing. He's so cold. I was like, damn freezing. How are we, everybody? Welcome to the court of the digester. On a very cold early morning in the UK. So welcome to you all, wherever you happen to be, sort of sat down blobbing on the globe, because it's, cold. If I mentioned it's cold. So would you pull up a chair and listen, or pop on your earphones, or whatever it is that you do first thing in the morning when you happen to get me come inside your inbox. So if you'd like to get yourselves comfortable, we'll begin. Come and be a warrior teacher. If you share and subscribe, if you can do that, please, that'd be great. Buy me a coffee, the usual stuff, right? Okay. Really pleased this morning because I've got something very interesting for you from legend and gay historian Fred Sargent, who, for those of you that don't know, Fred was at Stonewall, the Stonewall riots, okay? And Fred tirelessly spends his time being brilliant and putting people right about what exactly was the situation regarding the Stonewall Inn and what happened on that day. So I'm really pleased that we've got an article from Fred that has appeared in Spiked magazine online on the 14th of January. And it concerns a pervasive lie about gay history, perpetrated by the likes of Stonewall and Mermaids and various other organisations like, Mermaids. There was a film called Mermaids, wasn't there? Do you remember? With Cher and Bob Hoskins. Who else was in it? Winona Ryder, I think. Somebody will put me straight if I haven't got that right, but I think I'm right. Wasn't it? It was Mermaids, it was called. Does he love me? I want to know. It's called Cher, It's in his kegs. That's where it is. Bit of the Cher there, right? Okay. They had to wheel her on in Mamma Mia too. She was so stiff as a board, wasn't she? Weird looking woman. Very strange that she's still going. But so what he's done here is write down. It's great. You've got to keep this one. Got to keep this one because it's a up the jacksie for the look of particular liars. Historical liars. And it's about Sylvia Rivera. Now people always go, oh, Malcolm P. Johnson or Martha P. Johnson, whatever, Martha threw the first stone at Stonewall. Nonsense. There was a lesbian called Grace DeLavery. No, it wasn't, not Grace DeLavery, that's some mad TRA nutter, isn't it? What was her name? In this terrible, I can't remember her name. Stormé DeLavery, that was it, yes. Who was probably the first person to get things started. But Sylvia Rivera is revered alongside Martha P. Johnson, which was actually a gay man called Malcolm, for starting or being part of the Stonewall riots to such an extent that I believe they've got statues of them in New York. I mean, it's ridiculous. Absolutely insane when you know about these people that there's a statue to them anywhere. So the late New York drag queen was no hero of the gay liberation movement, says Fred Sargent, and rightly so. Since his death in 2002, drag queen Sylvia Rivera has slowly but surely been turned into a transgender icon. He is now celebrated by trans activists and the wider media as a seminal figure in the LGBT rights movement. He is hailed for his pioneering activism and feted for the support and shelter he offered marginalised young people in downtown New York City in the early 1970s. Noting Rivera's willingness to defy the law, some have gone so far as to anoint Rivera as the Rosa Parks of the modern transgender movement. His legend continues to grow. Some have even claimed it was Rivera who effectively initiated the Stonewall riots in 1969. They say he handed his friend and fellow drag queen Martha P. Johnson the first brick to be thrown during a police raid at the Stonewall Inn in 1969. Sparking a fight and kick-starting a movement, Johnson always told a different story, however, insisting that Rivera wasn't even at the Stonewall Inn on the fateful night in 1969. He was asleep after taking heroin 40 blocks north of Stonewall in Bryant Park. But then the truth about Rivera has always been darker and more complicated than his contemporary hagiographers will admit. What we have witnessed over the past 2 decades is a whitewashing of the real Rivera, a dishonest attempt to present both him and trans activism as central to the gay liberation struggles of the 1960s and the 1970s. It's worth pointing out here, Fred writes from a USA-centric point of view because this is a USA history. This is USA gay history. This has nothing to do with England, Wales, or Scotland. Nothing, right? Nothing to do with the UK or Ireland. Nothing. Right? Nothing to do with the United Kingdom at all. This politically motivated celebration of Rivera distorts the struggle for gay rights and makes a mockery of the historical record. Rivera's real role in the gay rights movement, as we shall see, was far more marginal, more complex, and murkier. Subheading: The Man and the Mob. Sylvia was born as Ray Rivera to a Puerto Rican father and a Venezuelan mother in New York City in 1951. There's no doubt he endured a tough upbringing. His father left soon after he was born, and his mother committed suicide when he was 3. He was raised in Jersey City by his abusive, homophobic grandmother, and first began to prostitute himself at the age of 10. He moved across the Hudson River to New York City when he was 11 and began working as a boy prostitute in the Port Authority bus terminal and on 42nd Street. It was during his teens that Rivera first met Marsha P. Johnson, who, like Rivera, was also a drag queen. It was during this time that Rivera's entanglement with the mafia began. In the 1960s, street prostitution was run in New York's Midtown and the Times Square area by Carlo Gambino, head of the Gambino family, and Matty the Horse, Ianiello, a member of the Genovese family. It was through his sex work that Rivera came to know low-level mafiosa and Gambino associate Mike Umbers, otherwise known as Dirty Mike. Umbers was deeply involved in various mafia sex trade operations. He ran 3 brothels in New York's East Side and had acquired a lithoprinting outfit through loan sharking. Using this, he distributed male-teen pornography throughout the New York City region, including the infamous Times Square dirty bookstores. Umbers, as a frontman for Gambino soldier Paul DeBelle, also operated several gay-themed Greenwich Village businesses, the most famous of which was the bar Christopher's End on Christopher Street. According to a Village Voice piece on Umbers from 1971, all of his Greenwich Village businesses were exploitative. Mike calls himself a gay catalyst and flesh peddler. He deals in boy-boy sex. Christopher's End, with its backroom and nude boy shows, is climax flesh. In 1970, Rivera and Johnson needed somewhere to stay and took advantage of the connection with the Umbers. He gave them a discounted rent on one of his squalid 4-room apartments. Having just formed the group Street for Transvestites Action Revolutionaries, or STAR for short, they turned Umbers' property into something they called Star House. Today, Star House is cited as one of the reasons to celebrate Rivera. It's recalled as a beacon of radical progressiveness, a home for trans people, as one journalist puts it. It is lionised in a pioneering charitable endeavour, feeding housing and clothing young homeless trans people. But the reality was somewhat different. It had no toilet, water, heat, or electricity. Liquor and drugs were plentiful. The 4 rooms were strewn with trash and occupied by as many as 20 people at a time. Food and other supplies was generally stolen or shoplifted by residents, while what little cash there was came in from sex work in the 42nd Street area and elsewhere, or from begging. Conveniently, this building was next door to one of Umbers' porn distribution operations. In some ways, the seedy reality of Star House captured the nature of Stonewall as a group. Not nature of Stonewall, Star. The nature of Star as a group. Despite its right-on reputation today, Star's self-styled revolutionary transvestites were not trusted by most of us in the emerging gay liberation movement. Its members' focus on whoring and radical politics, as Gay Activist Alliance founder Arthur Bell described it in 1971, was largely viewed with horror. Befitting their mafia connections, there was a dangerous, potentially violent side to their activities that we were all aware of, and so many of us avoided them. Indeed, during the 1970 sit-in and occupation of NYU's Weinstein Hall by various gay rights activists, Rivera argued that radicals needed to take up guns to achieve liberation. It's a fascinating piece, and that's about a third of it. Go read. It's really worth reading. And as I always say, Fred has taken the time to write it. You can take the time to read it. Right? So go and have a read. Great and interesting history around a transgender icon who has been made to be something they are not. Surprise, surprise, trans has made something with somebody who's pretending to be something they're not. Go figure. All right? I'll see you later.